This entire show is a metaphor for the United States. Everybody over here is struggling.
Seriously? Seriously? Seriously?
Behold, Simi, life, real life, a thing that we have been denied for far too long. Good morning, my neighbors! Hey, you! Yes! Yes! You too!
I'm back. Is it as disappointing as this flag being stuck on the pole while I was trying to make this epic shot? Find out the answer to that and so much more about how I see the States in this video. I'm Jessica, and you've reached the destination.
I have officially been on US soil for 1 month after living abroad for the past 7 years. It's my first time here since March 8th, 2018, and I have not visited at all during the 5 years I was living in China, but I did come and visit while I was living in Colombia. Living abroad for such a long time, especially through the pandemic, has changed my views on tons of things. And I know lots of people are curious about that. So let's get into it. Freedom. That's probably the number one thing Americans pride themselves on, right? Land of the free, home of the brave. First of all, America ranks #1 in the world for tripods flying in the wind.
America ranks #1 in the world for locking up the most people per capita.
What type of freedom are we discussing? Personal freedom?
No other country on earth takes away the freedom of its citizens more than the United States.
Financial freedom?
Everybody over here is struggling.
There are varying degrees of freedom, and I'm going to try my best not to make direct comparisons in this video, but the truth is, I've always felt more free living abroad than I ever have living here. And that's for both China and Colombia. While living abroad, I was able to travel more freely than I ever have been able to do here. Even during those 3 years of COVID, I experienced a level of financial freedom that I've never had in the US, as well as mental freedom, because I didn't have to worry about things like having to choose between going to the dentist or paying my car insurance bill that month. Also, living abroad, I didn't have any friends or family around to influence or judge me for doing whatever I wanted to do. That's a whole different sense of freedom. So while in this country, I may be able to own a gun, say whatever I want uncensored, protest the government if I want to.
Stop the deal! It's our country, we want it back! Fuck these Democrats!
The National Retail Federation recently told the News 4 I-Team and consumer investigative reporter Susan Hogan that retailers have seen an 80% increase in violence associated with retail crime since the pandemic.
Those things don't really make me feel free. Diversity. The #1 thing I missed about America was
So many colors, so many shapes. Yeah.
diversity. Living in a place where 99% of the people look exactly the same really does something to your psyche.
92% for the, well, actually, folks in the comments. I know there are 56 different ethnic groups in China. Exploring them was one of the highlights of my time there. But 92%, the majority, are Han Chinese, and they all generally look the same. The other 55 groups and that 8% do not. But unless you travel the country, you wouldn't know that.
When I arrived in LA last month, the first language I heard when I got off the plane was Spanish. In the jet bridge, there were so many different ethnicities of staff waiting to assist passengers, and I was like, wow, I haven't seen different types of people all together in so long. It was kind of shocking to me. And even now, a month later, I'm still like taken aback by that. I love how this country is just one big melting pot. I realize This is probably why it's confusing for Chinese people in mainland to see a group of foreigners of different ethnicities all hanging out together. It's only been 5 years for me, and I'm in a bit of reverse shock that in some ways we really do all just get along.
Don't let the media fool you.
In day-to-day life, for the most part,
Race isn't important at all. I went to a happy hour a couple of weeks ago, and everyone behind the bar was different. There was an Asian guy, there was a white girl, there was a black guy, and a Latino guy. And I was just sitting there taking it all in. Like, it's just that that's something that I haven't seen in years. Since we're here at this door, let's just go ahead and open it. Racism. While I was away, I started to see things the way the media portrayed them.
Don't let the media fool you.
Even though I knew better, every time I saw or read about a racist incident here, I felt like that was the whole country, every day, everywhere. Every incident of an innocent black person being killed by police, every protest, every Karen calling the cops for no reason, all of it. Now that I'm back, I'm happy to report that it's nothing like that. This idea that I had in my head about a race war about to pop off in every single city in America was completely off. On the surface, things have been very kumbaya. I'm in downtown Baltimore right now, and the weekends down here are like a UN festival, and I love to see it. It's just everybody from every race, every ethnicity, all ages, just all together hanging out, enjoying themselves. When you scratch a little deeper than the surface, you start to see the segregation though. People generally stick to their own. I don't have an opinion on whether this is a bad thing or a good thing. It's just something that I've noticed. One afternoon, I was sitting at a table, much like I am right now, editing a video. And at the table next to me, there was a Chinese mom and her young adult children. They were conversing in Mandarin for a while. They were sitting there for a while, didn't look like they were going anywhere, and they seemed nice. I have had a world of problems here with technology and other things, just living in two different worlds, and I genuinely needed help with this app that's in Chinese. And I thought, oh, this is destiny. There are 3 Mandarin speakers right here who could possibly help me with this. So I went over to them and I said, 你好，你们说中文对吧? Yeah. They completely ignored me. Maybe I need to speak louder. Let me rephrase. This time, the son looked up at me and shook his head no. Oh, okay, so you understood what I said, but you don't speak Chinese? Got it. I just went back to my table like, how the? Okay, fine. I had to take a second, and before I could get upset, I had to think about it from their perspective. I don't know what these people have been through. I have no clue. I haven't been here, but I heard and read and saw a lot of things that were not positive. For all I know, they could have been harassed or worse by someone who looks like me. And nobody has an obligation to just respond to some stranger that's talking to them on the street. On the flip side, the reason I felt so comfortable going over and talking to them was that people have been so nice to me here. People have been so friendly, and the East Coast tends to have a reputation of people not being friendly or being cold. I grew up on the East Coast, so I don't believe that stereotype. But again, I'm 5 years out. I don't really know what to expect. Every single day is like talking to aunties and uncles and cousins that I've never met, but these are complete strangers. Everyone is so chatty and helpful and caring. In LA, this king not only helped me with my suitcases on the shuttle bus at the Uber lot, he booked a car for me. A complete stranger ordered a car for me because I couldn't get service on my phone to do it myself. Like, what? I asked how I could repay him, and he was like, don't worry about it. He didn't even ask for my number or anything. All I know is his name is Marcus, whole angel in the city of angels, and he deserves every blessing coming to him. The craziest part about this story is that's not even the first or last time something like that has happened to me in my recent travels. The thing is, all these people that I just mentioned were Black. I feel like whatever happened here in 2020 really brought Black people together in a way that we used to only talk about and thought we would never see. I think if you're an American, especially a Black American who's been living here this whole time, you might not see it. I just have a feeling like all of this happened subtly over time. So you might not notice it if you've been here. But for me, just fresh off the plane, it's very apparent, it's very blatant, it's very beautiful. People are truly looking out for each other in a real way. I've noticed this with allies as well. Mexicans in LA, people who just happen to be white everywhere. It's very easy to see the difference between white people and people who happen to be white. But that's not what this video is about. But if you know, you know. You just know it when you see it. I'm also happy to report that I've only experienced one incident of a microaggression. It was over something so petty. But I'm gonna tell y'all anyway. I'm gonna tell you what happened. Okay, this is what happened.
I was at the Santa Monica Pier.
And I got excited because I haven't had a funnel cake in forever. After tussling with the idea of paying 12 American dollars for fried sugary dough, I decided it was worth it. I was gonna go ahead and do it. So I got in line, and right in front of me, 3 white women in their 60s got in line as well. They decided to get a funnel cake with the works. Strawberries, ice cream, whipped cream, everything, all the things. But I just wanted a regular plain Jane funnel cake. As I was ordering, the server complimented my earrings. He showed me a tattoo with a similar pattern on them. We had a nice little conversation. My funnel cake came out first, probably because it was plain and didn't have all those additional toppings. But because they ordered before me, the 3 white ladies were blocking the pickup window. I said, "Excuse me," he called my number. "Are you sure your number was called because we ordered before you?" "Yes, I'm aware." But he called my number. "Well, does yours have ice cream? Because ours has ice cream." "No, it doesn't. That's probably why mine was ready before yours." At this point, the 3 of them were looking for the receipt, trying to figure out what number was called. They can't really see the number. They need to put their readers on, etc., etc. By the time they got through all this shuffling, theirs was ready. So now I'm waiting for them to collect their giant topping-filled funnel cake and go off about their day. Whole time, dude behind the window is looking at me, shaking his head like, white people. For those of you who may think I'm reading too far into this, it was just the sense of entitlement of it all, okay? It was a very minor thing, as I said, tiny little microaggression. It just was the air of your number couldn't have been called, instead of just like moving and not even noticing that mine was ready before theirs. But as I said, I'm happy that's been the only incident like that. Hopefully it stays that way. Healthcare. I think everyone knows that healthcare is a main pillar in this capitalistic structure known as the United States of America. If we didn't charge so much for healthcare, where would we be as a country? Just an FYI, my first career out of college was in healthcare. I worked for Presbyterian Hospital, now known as Novant Healthcare System in North Carolina, for years. So I'm saying this as a person who has been on both sides of the issue, as an employee and obviously as a patient. Living abroad, I was always able to not only see a doctor quickly, but be able to afford it. Even while just traveling on holidays, there were no mountains of paperwork to deal with, no hiccups when I didn't have an insurance card, no exorbitant medication costs at the pharmacy, and especially no post-care bills totaling thousands of dollars showing up in my mailbox. I had a major medically necessary surgery while I was living in China. I had to be in hospital, hospitalized for 5 days and 6 nights. It was paid completely, paid in full on the day that I left the hospital. If I had that same surgery here in America, I would still be paying for it right now, 3 years later and beyond.
Facts.
The retort to that is usually people in the US saying that doctors abroad aren't as practiced, maybe they're not as well trained, maybe the hospitals aren't as clean, maybe they don't have the newest technology. That may be true in some very remote parts of the world, but in my experience, I've always been able to find the same level of care I would find here in the US if not even better.
One of the things at the top of my list upon returning to the States was seeing a doctor who speaks English as a first language. But I forgot about the part that you really can't see a physician of your choice unless you have the correct insurance. And how do you even get good insurance? You have to get a job. You have to get a certain type of job. And even then, you may have to wait 3 months for benefits to kick in, and you'll probably have to wait another 6 to 8 weeks to even see a doctor once you do have the insurance, because they're booked out so far, even though you have to pay an additional small fortune to see them even with your insurance. You three, get those smug looks off your faces. I'm not done yet.
If you're watching this and you aren't a Black woman and you don't have any in your life, then you may be unaware that Black maternal health in the US is deplorable. Black women die during childbirth in this country at a higher rate than everyone else. It has been proven that Black women are treated by doctors as if we have superhuman strength, that we don't require the same level of bedside manner as, say, a non-Black woman would. And that's whether we're pregnant or not. This is also something I was concerned with while being in Asia, but I found that I was often given extra care. I think it was more so because no one wanted to be responsible for killing a foreigner. No one wanted those problems. Same country, different city. Welcome to the portion of the video where I just tell you a bunch of random things that have been amusing, shocking, or confusing to me as a newly immigrated person. Seeing BBLs in real life is crazy. I am telling you right now. I've been seeing them on the internet for this time, obviously, just like all of us have. But like walking through a mall, walking down the street, and just seeing how the legs don't match it's shocking. The sirens. The sirens on emergency vehicles, are they always this loud, or is this like a new thing where the volume is so increased that you can't hear your own thoughts? You can't hear anything else. Like, it's deafening. I have literally been deafened for moments after a fire truck passes. This is normal to y'all? Like, I understand I was in a city where like it's a frequent thing. Like, it's a lot of sirens going on in Baltimore, but do they have to be that loud? Commercials. Oh my gosh. Like, I forgot that there were commercials for everything. Like, every ailment, things you didn't even know were ailments, they have a commercial for it. I know that. I remember that part. But y'all, they have commercialized and rebranded Jesus. Jesus has a commercial. Jesus. The airports. Flying in this country is a nightmare. It's very uncomfortable. I don't even think it matters if you fly first class. It's not like you have a separate entrance to the airport. You still have to enter the same way everyone else does. Maybe you arrived in a black car instead of a Toyota Corolla, but it's terrible. Living in China, like, flying is still kind of new for a lot of people. It's not surprising to see somebody on your flight who's never flown before. It's still a bit of a luxurious thing, but in the US, it's not. Everybody can afford to fly somewhere on some airline, and it is not a good experience. I don't want to do it. And it's very expensive. It's so expensive to have this subpar, frankly trash experience just to get from point A to point B via air. It's terrible. Do you know on Chinese airlines, they feed you a whole meal? Almost every single airline will feed you an entire meal, not a snack, not no peanuts, no, not crackers. I'm talking about a beverage, an appetizer, an entree, a dessert, and maybe some sort of like lactose thing that'll help you like digest all the food that you just ate, even if the flight is only an hour.
There's way more on this list, but I digress. Let's head back to Maryland and get into the state of the
culture. Okay, so quick backstory. I grew up in Pittsburgh where things were very black and white in the 90s. White people do this, black people do that type of thing. Skateboarding, skiing, skydiving, white people stuff. Rap music, consuming plant-based medicine, black people stuff. Seeing the States now, today, in 2023, all those things are just American culture. It's been so cool to see in person young fly black girls skateboarding past me with their fros and silk presses blowing in the wind. The other day, I saw a white dad blasting A$AP Rocky Wild for the Night while jogging, pushing his kid in a stroller.
And as I mentioned earlier, the diversity. Unlike my childhood where I only saw international people at my international middle school, the US is comprised of everyone from every corner of the earth, including this lovely Indian family, which they're actually American, they just happen to be Indian, who stopped me about my drone and had a billion questions for me about living in China.
I just see so many things blended together now that I didn't see before, and I feel like it's getting us closer to real change. The media throws this narrative of divisiveness down our throats daily.
Don't let the media fool you.
Right now, it's more about gender and pronouns than it is racism like it was when I was growing up, but it's the same thing. On the ground level, like here in real life on these streets, nobody really cares about any of that. I'm hopeful we'll get to solving real problems that are going on here. Like, why are there so many unhoused people? And why are we all broke pretending like we have money? Why can't we afford to live in this country for real? These are the real problems we need to be worried about. And I feel like from what I've witnessed for the past month, we might be getting closer to it.
At least I'm hoping it is.
One interesting thing that I've noticed in my travels, specifically in Vietnam recently, is that everybody thinks Americans are rich. Why does the rest of the world see us like that when the truth is most of us are in poverty?
Is that right?
It is very expensive to be here. Before I got back, I too started to think, oh, okay, maybe everybody is getting money over there. Maybe all those stimulus checks just prospered into financial bliss for every American. Maybe they are living the American dream. And I'm missing out. I need to go back. I am a citizen. I am entitled to the riches of this country. If you've been living in the US for the past year or so, you're probably cracking up right now because you know everybody over here is struggling.
Really? Really? Are you sure?
Not everybody.
That sounds fake, but okay.
It's kind of crazy that we live in probably the richest country in the world, arguably, United States, but yet more people than ever are more broke than ever.
Despite what it may look like, we are in poverty. We have lived beyond our means. We are overtaxed, overworked, and underpaid. This is an impoverished country. My job search here has been beyond depressing. These people want you to work from 8 to 6, 5 days a week, have years and years of experience in the job that you're applying for, as if skills you've learned in other parts of your life aren't transferable, all for a whopping $16 an hour, 8 of which you're gonna have to give to Uncle Sam or the IRS will be coming for you. Rent everywhere is $2,000 minimum, okay, on average. It's $2,000 to rent a place to live in this country. If you need a car to get to this low-paying job, forget about it. Honestly, don't know if I'm going to be able to stay here much longer. I came back because I wanted to be around people. I wanted to feel part of a community. I wanted to feel normal. And I do. I've gotten all those things already. I'm not an alien anymore. I don't stick out in a crowd in the same way for the same reasons. But what I didn't realize is that I would have to trade financial stability in order to get those things. So now I'm tasked with, do I stay here and hope to be able to thrive in the sense of community and belonging, but be poor? You get an EBT card, but have to be on Medicaid, to rely on my years of working in this country and what I put into the social security system to be able to fund this low point in my life simply because I wanted to come home? Or do I go back to a country where I know I will be able to provide for myself financially and hope for those other things to come into play later? Okay, there's this show on Netflix called Outlast. If you haven't seen it and you like survivalist shows, you should check it out. This entire show, to me, is a metaphor for the United States. Let me explain.
I was scrolling through Instagram one night and I saw an advertisement that said, "Do you have what it takes to survive out here?" 4 months later, I'm here.
16 players are about to compete in a game of survival for a potential $1 million prize.
I don't really know much about this show yet. What I imagine is like an adult Hunger Games.
They have been dropped off in a remote part of Alaska with only the clothes on their backs and told to await further instructions.
So on this show, you have to play as a team. You don't know these people, these are strangers. Everybody comes in alone and they have to form teams in order to play the game. At first, everyone is getting along fine, of course. There are 4 teams, and then suddenly one team decides to play dirty. They decide to sabotage the other team by stealing their sleeping bags. This show is set in Alaska.
We're in Alaska.
So they raid the other team's camp in hopes that this will make them leave the game. I'm not going to completely spoil the show for you because it's definitely a good watch, but the team that started sabotaging the others, that is America. That is the government. That is all of these systems that are in place to keep regular people just trying to live their lives down. And the people, the other teams, the ones that got their stuff stolen, that's me. That's us regular people out here on the street, going to work, going to lunch, doing whatever. The sabotaging team started saying stuff like, yeah, nobody F's with us. There are no rules. They literally called their victims psychotic for like trying to fight back, arguing with them about what they just did. They were saying things like, the good will prevail. And I'm like, these people are delusional, much like this country. What are you talking about? If the good will prevail, that means we win because you're pure evil. I just wanted to share that. You should watch Outlast because basically that show is just how I see America as a whole. It's hard out here. I love it here and I hate it here at the same time. I love how diverse it is here and there's so many fun things to do. This country is beautiful. I hate that I can't afford to do any of those fun things or see these beautiful places unless I get a job that I'll probably hate, that will leave me so tired I won't actually want to go anywhere or do anything at the end of the day. I hate that there are so many systems in place designed specifically to keep us fighting, to keep us struggling, to keep us impoverished. I love that people are so kind and caring. We'll see how I feel in another month or so, and maybe I won't be here at all. Please remember, you can help save one American by just liking, subscribing, or even sharing this video. If you made it this far, drop an American flag in the comments. USA, USA. See you at the next destination.
Thank you very much. Let me start off with 2 words. Made in America. Made in America.